A Widow's Game delivers a chilling portrayal of one of Spain's most infamous real-life murder cases, the crime of Petreix. Based on actual events from 2017, the film exposes the twisted web of manipulation, infidelity, and cold-blooded planning that led to the brutal murder of Arturo Ferrer Puig in a Valencia parking garage. Through meticulous police work and psychological insight, the movie reveals how Maria Jesus Mage Moreno convinced her besotted lover Salva Rodrigo to eliminate her husband, while creating the perfect alibi for herself. The film opens with teenagers discovering a horrific crime scene in a parking garage, a car with blood spattered across the window and a body nearby. Inspector Eva Torres arrives to investigate what appears to be a violent murder, with the victim having been stabbed multiple times. The body is identified as Arturo Ferrer Puig, a 36-year-old engineer from Novelda. His wife Maria Jesus, commonly called Mage, is quickly notified, appearing distraught at the news of her husband's death. Eva notices something odd about Mage's behavior. Despite her apparent grief, she's constantly checking her phone. This detail, seemingly insignificant at the time, becomes an important clue later in the investigation. As the police begin their work, they consider various motives. Robbery seems unlikely as Arturo's wallet was untouched, and his only known conflict was with a contractor over a home renovation. When Mage's friend Sonia is interviewed, she reveals that Mage had been seeing another man named Daniel, suggesting the marriage wasn't as stable as it appeared. Further investigation shows that this wasn't Mage's first affair. She had previously cheated on Arturo shortly before their wedding with a man named Andres. Despite this betrayal, Arturo had forgiven her and they had married anyway, though he insisted on a prenuptial agreement. The film uses flashbacks to show the deterioration of Mage and Arturo's marriage. Though they've been married less than a year, Mage feels stifled by Arturo's controlling behavior. He constantly texts to check her whereabouts, questions her when she comes home late, and doesn't allow her the freedom to socialize with friends. We see Mage juggling two jobs, as a nurse in a hospital and at a nun's residence, while finding time for multiple romantic affairs. She tells different lovers that Arturo is controlling and even violent, though the film suggests these claims are exaggerated or fabricated to gain sympathy. A pivotal character in the story is Salva Rodrigo, an older colleague at the hospital where Mage works. Significantly older than Mage and described as chubby, Salva is completely infatuated with her despite having a wife and teenage son of his own. He calls Mage his buttercup, and is willing to do anything for her. In flashbacks we see how Mage cultivated this relationship, allowing Salva to believe they had a meaningful connection, while manipulating his feelings to serve her needs. The turning point comes when Mage reveals her darkest desire to Salva. After another argument with Arturo, she tells Salva, "If I wasn't so scared, I swear all my problems would be over." When Salva asks what she means, Mage makes her intentions clear by asking, "Would you do it for me?" While never directly saying the word murder, she implies that eliminating Arturo would solve her problems and allow them to be together. Salva, totally devoted to Mage and blinded by love, agrees to this terrible plan. Meanwhile, Inspector Eva Torres and her team pursue multiple theories about the murder. The forensic evidence suggests the killer was a strong man who attacked Arturo with extreme violence. 6 stab wounds indicate a personal vendetta, rather than a random attack or robbery gone wrong. As they dig deeper into Mage's personal life, they discover her pattern of infidelity and her various lovers. Eva becomes increasingly suspicious of Mage, particularly when she learns that Mage lied about working the night shift on the evening of the murder. The investigation suffers a devastating setback when Eva's partner and friend, Deputy Inspector Bernardo Berni Gomez, is killed in the line of duty while working another case. Eva is temporarily sidelined and 2 months pass without progress on Arturo's murder. When Eva returns to work, she remains determined to solve the case despite her grief, and the appointment of a new, bureaucratic commissioner who lacks her investigative instincts. As the investigation stagnates, the film reveals through flashbacks exactly how the murder was planned and executed. Mage ensures that Arturo will park in the garage on the morning of August 16, 2017, while she arranges to be working the night shift at the hospital to establish an alibi. She gives Salva the keys to the garage and explains exactly when Arturo will be there. With meticulous planning, Salva waits in the garage early that morning and ambushes Arturo with a large kitchen knife, stabbing him repeatedly in the chest. The attack is brutal and quick, leaving Arturo no chance to defend himself. After the murder, Mage and Salva agree to maintain distance from each other to avoid suspicion. Salva provides Mage with a burner phone for secret communication, showing his careful planning. In the following weeks, Mage puts on a convincing performance as the grieving widow while simultaneously pursuing a relationship with Daniel, who doesn't initially know she was married. She even delivers a moving eulogy at Arturo's funeral, speaking about eternal love while secretly texting other men. The breakthrough in the case comes when Eva convinces her superiors to allow phone tapping of Mage's communications. The investigators discover that Mage is using a prepaid phone to communicate with someone, which raises immediate red flags. They also intercept communications between Mage and her various lovers, including sexually explicit conversations that occur just weeks after her husband's murder. Eva develops a clever strategy to make the suspects nervous. She tells Arturo's brother that they've identified a suspect, knowing this information will get back to Mage. The plan works brilliantly. Mage immediately calls Salva on their secret phone line, panicking about the police having a suspect. This conversation, which the police record, becomes key evidence. Salva tries to reassure her, suggesting that perhaps the police have identified someone else with a criminal record. He encourages Mage to pursue her relationship with Daniel, showing his continued devotion despite his growing realization that she's been using him. The final trap is set when Eva arranges for officers to follow both Mage and Salva to a cafe meeting. They place recording devices disguised as napkin holders on their table and capture a damning conversation. Salva discusses the key to the garage and advises Mage that if questioned, she should say she doesn't know anything. This recording provides the final piece of evidence needed to arrest them both. In parallel, the film explores Salva's growing disillusionment, as he realizes the extent of Mage's manipulation. He discovers she's planning a trip to Italy with Daniel, learning that she's been lying to him about her feelings while he sacrificed everything for her. This betrayal ultimately leads to Salva's decision to reveal the full truth during the trial. The arrests are dramatically portrayed, with both Salva and Mage taken into custody on the same day. During their interrogations, they initially maintain their innocence. Salva claims full responsibility, insisting that killing Arturo was entirely his idea to protect Mage from supposed abuse. Mage plays the victim, claiming she had no knowledge of Salva's plans and was merely stringing him along because she was afraid of him. Eva sees through these lies, confronting Mage with evidence of her manipulation and the passionate messages she sent to Salva. In a powerful moment, Eva tells Salva that Arturo never abused Mage. It was a story she invented to manipulate him into committing murder. This revelation devastates Salva, who finally begins to understand how thoroughly he was used. Eva expresses pity not for Salva but for his innocent family, particularly his teenage son who must now deal with the consequences of his father's actions. The film's epilogue reveals that while awaiting trial, Mage and Salva exchanged love letters, suggesting Mage was still trying to maintain control over him. However, when Salva discovers that Mage has begun relationships with other inmates in prison, he finally breaks free from her influence. In a decisive moment, he changes his testimony before the trial, admitting that the murder was planned jointly with Mage, specifically asking him to kill Arturo. The movie concludes with both Salva and Mage receiving their sentences, 17 years for Salva, reduced for his cooperation, and 22 years for Mage, increased due to her relationship with the victim. The final scene powerfully contrasts their responses when asked about their marital status during prison processing. Salva answers married, acknowledging the family he destroyed, while Mage coldly states widowed, showing no remorse for her role in her husband's death. A Widow's Game excels as both a gripping crime drama and a psychological study of manipulation. Director Carlos Sainz masterfully weaves together the police investigation with flashbacks that gradually reveal the full extent of Mage's manipulation and Salva's willing participation. Through Eva's determined investigation, the film explores themes of justice, truth, and the devastating consequences of obsession. By focusing on the psychological dynamics between Mage and her various lovers, particularly the devoted Salva, the movie offers insight into how a seemingly ordinary nurse could orchestrate such a callous crime while maintaining a facade of innocence. The film is particularly effective in its portrayal of Mage as a modern Black Widow, a woman who uses her sexuality and emotional manipulation to achieve her goals with little regard for others. Rather than depicting her as a one-dimensional villain, the movie shows her complexity, suggesting that her behavior stems from a profound selfishness and inability to find fulfillment in her marriage. Similarly, Salva is portrayed not simply as a killer, but as a man whose midlife crisis and desperate longing for validation made him vulnerable to Mage's manipulation. In the end, A Widow's Game offers a chilling reminder of how ordinary people can be driven to extraordinary evil through a toxic combination of desire, manipulation, and self-delusion. Based on the real-life crime that shocked Spain, the film stands as both a compelling thriller and a disturbing portrait of human nature, at its most calculating.